The WNBA world had been waiting for one thing ever since the controversy exploded: a response from Alyssa Thomas. After the league reviewed the incident involving Caitlin Clark, upgraded the foul to a flagrant 2, and issued Thomas a one-game suspension, basketball fans immediately began asking the same question: what would Alyssa say? For days, social media was flooded with debate. Some fans argued the punishment was fully justified. Others believed the play was simply the result of an intensely physical basketball game. Meanwhile, videos of the collision spread across every major platform, collecting millions of views and fueling endless arguments about player safety, officiating, and whether the WNBA had finally reached a breaking point. According to the league's official review, the contact warranted additional discipline after the game, making it one of the biggest stories of the season. Yet despite all the headlines, one voice remained noticeably absent, that of Alyssa Thomas herself. Then everything changed. During her first public comments following the suspension, Thomas addressed the incident from her perspective. She indicated that there was no intent to injure Caitlin Clark, describing the play as part of a fast, physical basketball game while acknowledging the league's decision. Her remarks immediately reignited debate across the basketball world. Supporters praised her for finally speaking publicly. Critics argued the suspension itself demonstrated why stronger accountability was necessary. Others focused on the bigger picture, asking whether the WNBA's current officiating standards are creating situations that become even more controversial after video review than they appeared in real time. At the center of it all remains Caitlin Clark, whose impact on the league has transformed every major storyline into national news. Every hard foul now dominates headlines. Every controversial whistle becomes a trending topic. Every post-game interview is analyzed by millions of fans. That's why Alyssa Thomas's first public comments have become much bigger than one suspension. They have reopened the debate about physical play, superstar protection, and whether the WNBA is prepared for the unprecedented spotlight that now follows every Indiana Fever game. The reactions have been intense, the opinions sharply divided, and the full story is even more dramatic than the headlines suggest. The moment the WNBA announced that Alyssa Thomas would receive a one-game suspension after the league upgraded her foul on Caitlin Clark to a flagrant 2, the basketball world erupted. Fans immediately divided into two camps. One side believed the punishment was completely justified, arguing that the contact crossed the line of acceptable physical play. The other side insisted the incident had been exaggerated by social media, and that basketball has always been an intensely physical sport where split-second collisions are inevitable. Within minutes, the replay was everywhere. Television networks broke down the footage frame by frame. Former players debated the call on podcasts and sports shows. Thousands of slow-motion videos appeared online, each claiming to reveal what really happened. What had started as one controversial play quickly became one of the biggest stories of the WNBA season. At the center of every discussion stood Caitlin Clark, whose arrival in professional basketball has transformed even routine league news into national headlines. Every hard foul involving Clark now generates millions of views because her popularity extends far beyond traditional WNBA audiences. New fans, casual basketball viewers, and longtime supporters all wanted answers. According to the league's official review, the contact deserved stronger punishment than officials initially assessed during the game, leading to the upgraded ruling and suspension. That decision itself became a major talking point because it highlighted ongoing concerns about consistency in officiating. Many analysts questioned why such plays sometimes require post-game review before stronger action is taken. Others argued that replay exists precisely to correct mistakes made during the speed of live competition. As debate intensified, one noticeable absence continued drawing attention. Alyssa Thomas remained largely silent publicly while everyone else seemed eager to discuss the incident. Fans repeatedly asked the same question across social media: would she apologize, defend the play, or simply move on. Eventually, Thomas addressed the controversy publicly. According to her comments, she stated that there was no intention to injure Caitlin Clark, describing the sequence as part of an intensely physical basketball game, while accepting that the league had made its decision. Those remarks immediately became another major headline. Supporters argued that Thomas had handled the situation professionally by sharing her perspective without escalating the controversy further. Critics responded that intent alone does not determine whether dangerous contact deserves discipline. They pointed out that player safety depends on the outcome of the play, as well as the actions leading to it. That disagreement quickly expanded into a broader conversation about the direction of the WNBA itself. According to several former players, the league has always featured tough, competitive basketball. Physical defense, aggressive rebounding, and emotional rivalries have existed for decades. What has changed is the level of attention surrounding those moments. Before Caitlin Clark entered the league, many controversial plays received relatively limited national coverage. Today, every Fever game attracts enormous television audiences, and every controversial sequence spreads across the internet within minutes. According to sports media experts, that unprecedented visibility means officials, coaches, and players now operate under levels of scrutiny unlike anything the WNBA has previously experienced. Every decision is replayed repeatedly. Every quote is analyzed. Every gesture becomes another topic for debate. Meanwhile, Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever continued emphasizing player safety while avoiding unnecessary escalation of the controversy. Rather than focusing on individual opponents, the organization consistently stressed the importance of protecting players throughout the league. That approach received praise from many analysts, who argued that the broader issue extends beyond one game or one suspension. They believe the league now faces a larger challenge, maintaining the physical competitiveness that defines professional basketball while ensuring that officials consistently recognize and penalize dangerous plays before situations become national controversies. At the same time, several commentators cautioned against portraying Alyssa Thomas as a villain based on one incident. They noted that Thomas has built a respected career as one of the WNBA's toughest and most accomplished competitors. One controversial play, they argued, should not define an athlete's entire reputation. Others countered that star players inevitably receive greater scrutiny because their actions occur under brighter spotlights. Both perspectives continued dominating sports television long after the suspension had been announced. Through it all, one undeniable reality emerged. The WNBA has entered a new era where every major storyline involving Caitlin Clark becomes a national conversation. Whether discussing officiating, player safety, coaching, or league discipline, Clark's presence has fundamentally changed the scale of public attention. As Alyssa Thomas broke her silence and offered her version of events, the controversy evolved from a simple disciplinary decision into a league-wide discussion about fairness, physicality, accountability, and the future of professional women's basketball. And according to many observers, that conversation is only beginning. As Alyssa Thomas's comments continued making headlines, the conversation quickly shifted away from the suspension itself and toward an even bigger question. Has Caitlin Clark's arrival permanently changed how the WNBA handles physical play? According to many basketball analysts, that question now sits at the center of almost every major controversy involving the Indiana Fever. Before Clark entered the league, hard fouls and physical matchups certainly generated discussion, but they rarely dominated national sports coverage for days at a time. Today, however, every incident involving Clark becomes front-page basketball news. Television shows dedicate entire segments to breaking down a single play. Former players debate officiating standards on podcasts. Social media produces millions of reactions within hours. That extraordinary attention has fundamentally changed the environment in which players, coaches, and officials now operate. Following her suspension, Alyssa Thomas emphasized that she did not intend to injure Caitlin Clark, describing the play as part of the physical nature of professional basketball. Many veteran players echoed similar sentiments, explaining that basketball often involves split-second decisions made at full speed. They argued that while dangerous plays must be addressed appropriately, not every hard foul reflects malicious intent. Others responded that intent alone cannot determine disciplinary action, because the league also has a responsibility to discourage unnecessary contact that places players at risk. That disagreement immediately became one of the biggest talking points across sports media. According to several former referees, one of the most difficult aspects of officiating basketball is distinguishing between legal physicality, reckless contact, and actions that deserve more severe penalties. Games unfold at incredible speed, leaving officials only fractions of a second to evaluate complex situations. That's precisely why the WNBA later reviewed the play and upgraded it after examining multiple camera angles. Supporters of the review process argued that replay technology exists specifically to correct missed calls. Critics countered that dangerous situations should ideally be recognized during live play rather than after the fact. As those debates continued, Caitlin Clark herself remained focused primarily on basketball rather than engaging publicly in the growing controversy. According to many observers, her approach has remained remarkably consistent throughout her professional career. Whether facing aggressive defense, media criticism, or intense public attention, Clark has generally preferred allowing her performance on the court to speak louder than prolonged public arguments. That approach has earned praise from many analysts, who believe maintaining focus becomes increasingly important as the spotlight continues growing. Meanwhile, Stephanie White continued emphasizing player safety while avoiding personal attacks directed toward opposing players. Instead, she focused on the broader issue of officiating consistency and ensuring that dangerous contact receives appropriate attention throughout the league. According to basketball commentators, that distinction matters because criticism directed toward systems and procedures differs significantly from criticism aimed at individual athletes. Throughout the controversy, many experienced observers reminded audiences that Alyssa Thomas has built one of the WNBA's most respected careers through toughness, versatility, and relentless competitiveness. They argued that evaluating her entire career through the lens of one controversial play would ignore years of outstanding basketball. Others acknowledged Thomas's accomplishments while maintaining that the league still made the correct decision based on the specific contact involved in this incident. Both viewpoints continued receiving substantial support across basketball media. At the same time, sports business analysts pointed out another important reality. Every controversy involving Caitlin Clark now carries broader implications because of her extraordinary influence on league popularity. Attendance continues reaching record levels whenever the Fever play. Television ratings remain significantly higher for Clark's games than league averages. Merchandise sales continue breaking expectations. New audiences, who had never previously followed the WNBA, are now watching every Indiana game. According to marketing experts, that level of attention naturally increases pressure on league officials to demonstrate consistency, transparency, and fairness whenever disciplinary decisions become necessary. Every ruling is now evaluated not only by longtime basketball fans, but also by millions of newcomers learning the league for the first time. That unprecedented visibility creates opportunities for tremendous growth, while simultaneously increasing scrutiny of every controversial decision. As the days passed following Thomas's suspension, many analysts concluded that the incident had become symbolic of a much larger transition taking place throughout the WNBA. The league is no longer operating under the same level of public attention it experienced only a few years ago. Every nationally televised game now attracts significantly larger audiences. Every rivalry receives greater media coverage. Every officiating decision is reviewed by countless viewers equipped with slow-motion replays and social media platforms capable of amplifying opinions instantly. In that environment, even routine basketball plays can evolve into nationwide debates. Whether fans ultimately agreed with the suspension, supported Alyssa Thomas's explanation, or sided with those demanding stricter player protection, nearly everyone agreed on one point: the WNBA has entered a new era. And as long as Caitlin Clark remains one of the league's biggest stars, every controversial moment will continue carrying far greater attention than ever before. As the days passed, what began as a single disciplinary decision evolved into something much larger than anyone expected. The debate was no longer centered solely on Alyssa Thomas or the one-game suspension. Instead, basketball fans across the country were asking whether the WNBA had reached a turning point in how it balances physical competition with player safety. According to many league analysts, that conversation had actually been building for months, but the incident involving Caitlin Clark pushed it directly into the national spotlight. Every television network seemed to have its own panel discussion. Former players debated whether the suspension was too harsh, too lenient, or exactly right. Coaches were repeatedly asked whether officials were calling games consistently. Even casual sports fans, who had only recently started following the WNBA because of Clark, suddenly found themselves discussing flagrant fouls, replay reviews, and league discipline. That level of attention illustrated just how dramatically the league has changed over the past year. Before Clark's arrival, controversial fouls certainly happened, but they rarely became multi-day national stories. Today, every physical play involving Clark becomes headline news almost instantly. According to sports media experts, that isn't necessarily because the game has become more physical. Instead, it reflects the unprecedented level of attention surrounding one player, whose popularity has introduced millions of new viewers to women's basketball. Those new viewers naturally bring new expectations, and one of the biggest expectations is player protection. Many fans openly questioned whether officials were allowing too much physical contact before stepping in. Others argued that professional basketball should never lose the toughness that has always been part of the sport. Throughout this discussion, Alyssa Thomas remained firm in her position that there was no intention to injure Caitlin Clark. Supporters pointed out that Thomas has built a career as one of the league's hardest-working and most respected competitors, known for physical defense and relentless effort rather than dirty play. They argued that one controversial sequence should not erase years of professionalism and elite performance. Critics responded that player reputation cannot determine whether discipline is appropriate. They maintained that every dangerous play deserves to be evaluated on its own merits regardless of who commits it. According to several former referees interviewed by sports media, this is exactly why replay review exists. Officials must make split-second decisions in real time, while the league office has the advantage of examining multiple camera angles before determining whether additional discipline is warranted. Even so, that explanation did little to quiet the online debate. Social media remained deeply divided. Some users accused the league of trying to protect its biggest star. Others insisted the suspension proved officials had missed an obvious call during the game itself. As those arguments continued, the Indiana Fever attempted to keep their attention where it mattered most, on basketball. Stephanie White repeatedly emphasized that the organization's primary concern was ensuring the health and long-term success of Caitlin Clark rather than prolonging controversy with opposing players. According to many observers, that measured approach helped prevent the situation from escalating further between the two teams. Clark herself also avoided inflaming the debate publicly, continuing to prepare for upcoming games while allowing the league's disciplinary process to run its course. That decision received praise from many analysts, who argued that focusing on basketball rather than public confrontation ultimately benefits both the player and the league. Meanwhile, league executives found themselves facing a broader challenge that extends far beyond one suspension. Attendance continues reaching historic levels. Television ratings remain among the highest in WNBA history whenever the Fever play. Corporate sponsors continue investing heavily in women's basketball. With that rapid growth comes increased responsibility. According to sports business analysts, millions of first-time viewers are now forming opinions about the league based on what they see each night. Every controversial officiating decision therefore carries greater significance than ever before because it shapes how new audiences perceive the sport. Some believe the league should introduce stricter enforcement of dangerous contact to protect star players. Others warn that over-officiating could fundamentally change the physical identity of professional basketball. Finding the correct balance will likely remain one of the WNBA's biggest challenges moving forward. Throughout all of this, one undeniable fact has emerged. Caitlin Clark's arrival has fundamentally changed the scale of public attention surrounding women's basketball. Every rivalry feels larger. Every controversial foul receives greater scrutiny. Every suspension becomes national news. Whether fans agreed with the punishment handed to Alyssa Thomas or believed it was excessive, the incident demonstrated that the WNBA now operates under a microscope, unlike anything it has experienced before. Every decision is watched. Every explanation is analyzed. Every game has the potential to create another headline. And according to many basketball insiders, this new reality isn't going away. If anything, the spotlight will only continue growing as the league attracts larger audiences, bigger television deals, and even more passionate fans. The biggest question now isn't whether another controversy will happen, it almost certainly will. The real question is whether the WNBA can continue growing while maintaining the competitive, physical style of basketball that players and fans have always valued, without compromising the safety of the athletes who are driving the league's remarkable rise. The answer to that question may ultimately define the next era of women's professional basketball. As the controversy surrounding Alyssa Thomas, Caitlin Clark, and the one-game suspension gradually began fading from the daily headlines, the larger conversation refused to disappear. According to many basketball analysts, the incident had become much bigger than one foul or one disciplinary decision. It had evolved into a defining moment for a league experiencing historic growth. Every major sports network continued asking the same question: can the WNBA successfully balance physical, competitive basketball with the responsibility of protecting the players who are driving unprecedented interest in the sport? That debate became even more important because of the extraordinary influence Caitlin Clark now has on the league's popularity. Every time the Indiana Fever play, television ratings increase. Arenas routinely sell out weeks in advance. Merchandise sales continue breaking expectations. Young basketball fans who had never previously followed the WNBA now plan entire evenings around Fever games. According to sports marketing experts, very few professional athletes have transformed public interest in a league as rapidly as Clark has done during the early stages of her career. That extraordinary popularity naturally means every controversial moment involving her receives levels of attention that would have been almost unimaginable only a few years ago. Meanwhile, Alyssa Thomas found herself navigating one of the most scrutinized moments of her accomplished career. Despite being widely respected throughout the league for her toughness, versatility, and competitiveness, one controversial sequence suddenly dominated public discussion about a player whose resume extends far beyond a single game. Many current and former players urged fans to avoid defining Thomas exclusively through this incident. They argued that physical basketball has always required athletes to make split-second decisions under enormous pressure, and that replay footage viewed repeatedly in slow motion can create impressions very different from what players experience in real time. Others responded that regardless of intent or reputation, the league must consistently discipline dangerous contact whenever officials determine it crosses the appropriate threshold. According to basketball commentators, both viewpoints contain valid concerns, which explains why the debate has remained so intense. Throughout the discussion, Stephanie White continued focusing attention on broader issues rather than individual criticism. She repeatedly emphasized the importance of protecting all players while maintaining the integrity of professional basketball. According to many observers, That approach helped shift the conversation away from personal accusations and toward larger structural questions involving officiating consistency and league policy. Several analysts praised White for addressing the issue without escalating tensions between players or organizations. At the same time, numerous former referees pointed out that officiating has become significantly more difficult as the speed and athleticism of the modern game continue increasing. Every possession unfolds rapidly, leaving officials only fractions of a second to determine whether contact is incidental, reckless, or deserving of harsher penalties. Replay review exists precisely because even experienced referees cannot always identify every detail during live action. Nevertheless, many fans argued that relying on post-game review does little to protect players during the actual game itself. According to those supporters, the league should continue evaluating whether additional training, technology, or procedural adjustments could improve consistency during live competition. As these conversations continued, another important reality became increasingly clear. The Indiana Fever remained focused on basketball rather than controversy. Coaches continued preparing game plans. Players concentrated on upcoming opponents. Caitlin Clark remained committed to helping her team compete at the highest level whenever healthy. Many analysts noted that this ability to move beyond controversy may ultimately prove essential for a team hoping to compete deep into the postseason. Championship-caliber organizations cannot afford to become distracted by every headline regardless of how much outside attention surrounds them. According to several former championship coaches, one of the defining characteristics of successful teams is their ability to separate public narratives from internal priorities. Fans, commentators, and social media may debate controversies for weeks, but players must quickly refocus on the next opponent. That lesson may prove especially valuable for the Fever as expectations surrounding the franchise continue growing. Every nationally televised game now feels like a major event. Every matchup against top contenders receives playoff-level attention. Every performance by Clark becomes another opportunity for analysts to evaluate the future direction of both the player and the league. Sports business experts believe this extraordinary attention represents a remarkable opportunity for the WNBA. Increased ratings attract larger broadcast agreements. Greater attendance encourages additional investment. Expanded media coverage introduces new audiences to veteran stars throughout the league rather than focusing exclusively on one player. Yet those same experts also caution that increased visibility inevitably produces increased scrutiny. Every officiating decision, every suspension, every injury update, and every controversial moment now influences how millions of new fans perceive the league. That reality places greater responsibility on everyone involved, from officials and coaches to players and league executives, to maintain public confidence in the fairness and professionalism of the competition. Looking ahead, many analysts believe the controversy involving Alyssa Thomas and Caitlin Clark will eventually be remembered less for the suspension itself and more for the conversations it sparked. Discussions about player safety, officiating consistency, league growth, and the pressures created by unprecedented popularity are likely to continue long after this particular incident fades into history. And according to many observers, how the WNBA responds to those broader challenges may ultimately shape the league's future just as much as anything that happens on the court. As the season moves forward and championship races begin intensifying, one thing remains certain: every game involving Caitlin Clark, every major decision by the league, and every high-profile moment will continue receiving extraordinary national attention because the WNBA has entered an entirely new era, one where every headline carries significance far beyond a single final score. As the headlines surrounding Alyssa Thomas's suspension slowly began giving way to the next wave of WNBA news, one thing remained absolutely undeniable: this incident changed the conversation around the league. It wasn't simply another hard foul in another regular season game. It became a national talking point because it involved Caitlin Clark, the player who has transformed the WNBA into one of the fastest-growing stories in professional sports. According to many basketball analysts, Clark's influence now extends far beyond points, assists, and wins. She has helped bring millions of new viewers to the league, increased television ratings, filled arenas across the country, and introduced a new generation of fans to women's basketball. That extraordinary popularity also means every controversial play involving Clark immediately becomes headline news. Every replay is examined from multiple angles. Every official decision is debated by former players, coaches, broadcasters, and fans. Every post-game interview is analyzed in extraordinary detail. That level of attention creates opportunities unlike anything the league has experienced before, but it also creates enormous pressure. The controversy involving Alyssa Thomas perfectly illustrated both sides of that reality. On one hand, Thomas publicly maintained that she never intended to injure Caitlin Clark, describing the play as part of the physical nature of professional basketball. On the other hand, the WNBA reviewed the incident, upgraded the foul to a flagrant 2, and imposed a one-game suspension, making it clear that the league believed additional discipline was appropriate. Those two facts can exist simultaneously. A player may not intend to cause harm, while the league may still conclude that the level of contact deserves punishment under its rules. That distinction became one of the most important lessons emerging from the entire controversy. Throughout the debate, many veteran players reminded audiences that physical basketball has always been part of the WNBA's identity. Tough defense, aggressive rebounding, and emotional competition are qualities that helped build the league long before today's record-breaking television audiences arrived. At the same time, many analysts argued that the sport continues evolving, and with greater visibility comes greater responsibility to protect athletes consistently. According to sports business experts, every new fan discovering the WNBA today is forming opinions not only about individual players, but also about how the league handles fairness, safety, and accountability. Every disciplinary decision therefore carries significance beyond one game, because it influences public confidence in the league itself. Meanwhile, Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever consistently emphasized looking ahead rather than dwelling on controversy. Their focus remained on preparing for upcoming opponents, supporting Caitlin Clark's continued development, and building a team capable of competing for championships. According to several former coaches, that mindset reflects the mentality required to succeed over a long season. Great teams cannot allow themselves to become consumed by every controversy, because professional sports inevitably produce difficult moments. The strongest organizations learn from those moments and continue moving forward. The same principle applies to the league itself. The WNBA has entered a remarkable period of growth. Attendance continues climbing. Television ratings remain among the strongest in league history. Corporate sponsorships continue expanding. Young athletes now dream of reaching the WNBA in greater numbers than ever before. Those achievements should remain at the center of the conversation even as debates about officiating and player safety continue. Looking back, many observers believe the incident involving Alyssa Thomas and Caitlin Clark will eventually be remembered not simply because of one suspension, but because it highlighted how dramatically women's basketball has changed. Every game now carries national significance. Every controversial call receives widespread analysis. Every player competes under brighter lights than previous generations experienced. That increased attention represents both a challenge and an opportunity. The challenge lies in managing greater scrutiny. The opportunity lies in continuing to grow the sport while maintaining the competitive spirit that has always defined it. Whether fans agreed with the suspension or believed a different outcome would have been more appropriate, one conclusion appears almost universal: the future of the WNBA has never looked brighter. More people are watching. More people are talking about the league. More young athletes are inspired to play. And every major storyline now reaches audiences around the world. As long as stars like Caitlin Clark, veterans like Alyssa Thomas, and organizations like the Indiana Fever continue competing at the highest level, women's basketball will remain one of the most exciting and fastest-growing sports anywhere. The headlines will eventually change, the controversies will pass, and the suspension will become part of league history. But the conversations sparked by this moment, about player safety, officiating consistency, competitive intensity, and the extraordinary rise of the WNBA, are likely to shape the league for years to come. What do you think? Did the WNBA make the right decision by suspending Alyssa Thomas, or should the league have handled the situation differently? Do you believe officials need to call games more tightly to protect stars like Caitlin Clark, or should the physical style of play remain unchanged? Share your thoughts in the comments below, we'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more Caitlin Clark news, WNBA updates, breaking basketball stories, and in-depth analysis. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.